Hi everyone, this is Mili. I'm taking over from Maria to present the relationship between student diversity and academic literacy. To do that, I will define student diversity, the causes that create diversity among the learners, and the ways these two correlate each other. Wingate neither define diversities nor showed the complexities in it. Usually, diverse students include the individuals coming to study from any other countries with different languages and cultures. Such group often includes immigrants, citizens, and international students already residing in the country for few years too. And linguistic diversity is all about the dichotomy of Anglophone and non-Anglophone learners. So I think it is really difficult to define student diversity in any Anglophone higher educational context where learners' origin of country may not speak about their linguistic identities, since their extended stay in the native country makes an amalgamation of cultures as well as the changes in language identity. For example, 3 of the students in this course are coming from Bangladesh, though 2 of them have changed linguistic identity with English as their second language. I created an online poll to survey student diversity. 15 participants from 2 graduate online courses responded to the poll, where 8 out of 15 reported that English is not their first language, and they were the majority in number. They have 7 different countries of origin. On the other hand, 7 out of 15 have English as their first language, with Canada and USA as the countries of origin. This proves that extreme cultural diversities are prevailing here. My qualitative observation of their introductory videos and notes find that all of them except a PhD student have long exposure to both spoken and academic English, as well as several years of teaching experience at either elementary or higher education in Canada. The PhD student has been working as a teaching assistant too. This is an absolute testimony of their improved language proficiency than any newly landed EFL or ESL learner. Wingate outlines widening participation and internationalization as the 2 reasons for student diversification in higher education, because the government policies and a range of initiatives resulted in a massive expansion in the number of students attending higher education during the early decade of this century. Australia, UK, and Canada have national priorities and comprehensive strategies to draw greater number of international students. On the other hand, Germany developed educational programs in English with transferable credits, and France increased international enrollments through the well-budgeted recruitment of Asian and Latin American students. The most obvious reason is financial, as Canada views it as an essential source of revenue, while UK and Australia even sacrifice English language proficiency requirements for much needed revenue from the overseas students. I think the adjusting strategies to ensure a certain income is also responsible for receiving students with weaker language and educational abilities. However, such extended diversity ensures the inclusion of underrepresented groups coming from ethnic minority, lower socio-income levels, lower educational background, and thus addresses the existing educational inequalities to some extent. Besides, togetherness of people from different countries as well as linguistic or cultural backgrounds supports the learner's intercultural competence. I would like to associate my experience of academic socialization in learners' community, which is new to me as a diverse graduate student. The online discussions, readings, and reflections that I am going through allow me to learn new rhetorics and idioms needed for being more competent language users in a community, along with the new disciplinary terms and social norms which I think would not be possible so quickly otherwise. Andrew stated that promoting intercultural education, international students' contribution, and global issues played a role to create cooperative efforts between government and education, or funding for outreach programs and marketing too. Internationalization and globalization brought the students' mobility considerably up, particularly to the Anglophone context where language socialization is easier than in any other countries. The native country receives benefits from the diverse students married to. For example, Australia has reported to be benefited from the international students' contribution in IT sector. Besides, gaining a graduate or postgraduate degree from abroad may open the opportunities either to standardize the local education and improve research potential by an educator or researcher, or to join the multinational companies investing in the locality as internationally trained workforce in a developing country. It is not only prestigious that Wingate mentioned. There is a long history of complaints about the quality of student writing in the US as well as Australia, and I do not think this statement fits for the relationship between learners' diversity and academic language capability. Rather, it is a reaction to the diversity of students' background, and it limits all other intellectual qualities to language efficiency, ignores both the academic and community socialization processes, and avoids inclusive teaching and learning. Besides, higher education being a discipline-specific learning requires in-depth study, reflections, analysis, reproduction of original thoughts, critical thinking, and argumentation, which should not be inflicted on students' language ability. The concern regarding student diversity was recorded by Brown and Jones, as the diverse students experience disadvantages in social adjustment and welfare, including racism, alienation, marginalization, different lifestyles, cultural predispositions affecting their socialization and studies. They go through psychological stresses with the experiences of less social support and feeling of culturally apart. Besides, they have to face twofold challenges with both language proficiency and academic literacy. They have to acquire both the community language and activity-based academic literacy. And Reid mentioned of understanding professors' accents, idiomatic styles, humor, choice of examples in lectures, reading comprehension, note-taking, oral communication, vocabulary, and writing to be problematic for the international students. And these result in the lack of confidence and fear to make mistakes which inhibit their class participation. The third point of vulnerability is the international students' previous educational experiences, which mostly relate to the pattern of studying and assessment. My personal experience is books being the main source of knowledge and examination-based assessment discourage extensive reading, reflection, or critical thinking and constructing ideas in my country. Only synthesizing information switches off their thoughts often. Wingate mentions that most of the graduate learners seeking research degrees are coming from the non-English speaking countries. If so, their academic literacy should not be at alarming level for the educators, since they are supposed to be acquainted with academic registers and be professionally experienced. Besides, Morrison et al. Found international students performing better than the home students in Australia. While if it is more connected to the undergrad students, we must refer to Carlino's statement. When entering the university context, students encounter specialized knowledge and need to develop specific strategies to participate in the different activities of text analysis and production. Even the home language learners often go through the academic language socialization processes. As Duff says, if they return to higher education after a long break, they have to deal with the changes, registers, standard varieties, identity crisis, and above all, knowing the rules and etiquettes in a new situation. Besides, Pitts and Bialystok state that academic discourse contrasts with everyday conversation in its formal conventions and relationships with the complex and often technical domains of education. If it is so, concern with diversity is not then only related to language, but also to the strategies for using language. And language socialization is not an affective variable, rather a certain educational process in any wider and multicultural context. Finally, the three sociocultural models presented by Wingate are effectively related to the diverse student socialization processes, and this seems to be the best strength of our essay. While overemphasis on socialization lets it ignore the learning and writing processes as well as interactions with the texts and critical thinking or disciplinary jargons that I experienced to be difficult while I was going through the English literary criticisms at the beginning of my undergrad level. Though I had the difficulties in my class performances and interactions with the tutors too. My extended academic language socialization throughout the years of studying and teaching English linguistics has aided me to respond to the academic community more comfortably this time. That's all from me. Here are some questions and references for you to warm up and read about the topic. However, Amreen will take the discussion a bit further with problems and supports. Thanks for your time.